Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Indianaut Podcast, where we interview some of India's next best analytical and creative minds who are not only revolutionizing their own field, but at the same time transforming India's entrepreneurial ecosystem one step at a time. Our guest for the day is a man who has worked in the banking industry in Singapore for more than half a decade before coming back to India and starting his own iced tea brewing company. We have with us the founder of BrewHouse Iced Tea, Siddharth Jain. Let us jump right into the conversation. Hi Siddharth, how are you?
Hi Gautam, I'm very well. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. So Siddharth, I want to focus on your Indianaut origin story because it is actually quite interesting that you had a very lucrative banking career in Singapore and now you're the founder of an Indian FMCG startup. So just walk us through that journey once.
Sure. So, honestly, I don't know how I ended up doing this, or I would have never imagined when I was in Singapore to come back and do FMCG in India. So I was a banker for about 6 years after doing my MBA. And but I had been a tea fan all my life, and I had drunk teas, black teas, from a very young age. And when I went to Singapore, that's when I realized that I saw people drinking a lot of iced teas, and that was the first time I sort of got introduced to the space. Because when I was in India, although I'd had tea very regularly, and perhaps because of that, I never really had iced teas. And when I had the iced teas in Singapore, I thought it was a great product. It sort of met the need for a healthier beverage. And that, sort of made me inquisitive about this category. And then I sort of got hooked onto it. And I would have a bottle of iced tea on my desk every day, as would a lot of other of my teammates. And, my work took me to Indonesia, Malaysia, parts of China, and in all of these places, iced tea is really huge. So I started thinking about why this is not a big category in India. And the answer was pretty obvious, which was that because we've been having tea with milk, perhaps that's why iced teas have not really taken off, or because there's never been a good product. There's never been a great bottled iced tea brand in India, because all the other products were essentially made with powdered tea, which doesn't really taste like tea. So as an Indian, as somebody who was very fond of tea, and as somebody who had really taken on to these bottled iced teas, which were made with real brewed teas and all of that, high quality teas, I was very convinced that if somebody did this in India, that would take off. And sort of having had that, investment banking background made me sort of really do a business, case study on this and prepare a business plan, look at the global markets and what's been happening.
I'm so sorry. You basically MBA'd your entire journey.
Well, kind of, but I think any entrepreneur would obviously do that. So it starts with that, it started with that curiosity about why is nobody doing this in India. And because I became hooked onto it and I started becoming convinced that everyone else would also get hooked onto it. So every time I travel back from Singapore, I'd get 20 bottles and I'd show it to all my friends and, do you like this? How do you like this? And I'd try all the iced teas from all across the world. And over time, I got convinced that this is an opportunity, that there is a dearth of beverage brands in India. If you look at the beverage aisle in India, and I'm talking about 2013, 2014, 2015, it was still just the large brands, and there were very few entrepreneurial brands, or very few small brands who were doing high quality products. And I think that's true even today. And therefore, I felt that the opportunity is massive. The category is, something that is not being created, but has the potential to become big because there is an innate understanding of what good tea is about. And if you give it in a cold format in a hot country like India, there's no reason why it shouldn't work. So yeah, if once you're in investment banking, you want a reason to get out of it. It's a tough life. So yeah, I'm glad I did it.
I think the entrepreneurial spirit really burns brightly in you, because I think a lot of folks will always, when they'll hear your story, they'll resonate with the fact that, we've sometimes seen this opportunity that, there's this product or something which is not prevalent in India, but is really prevalent outside.
Yeah.
But nobody really takes the jump, nobody really takes the leap.
Sure.
Of actually starting that.
It took me a couple of years to really, get convinced about this.
Right.
So, there are a lot of ideas that come, and there are a lot of ideas that you keep thinking about, that this one kept coming back to me, like this one stuck. Other ideas come and go. But when an idea sticks with you for a couple of years, that, it's got some legs.
And we're really glad it did.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I want to focus on one more thing, right? So you talked about fake tea of the sorts.
Yeah.
And I think that really resonates with me because the powdered tea industry in India is really like sugar centric of the sorts.
Yeah.
So I think the word tea it shouldn't even be there when it comes to
Correct.
iced tea, right? It should just be flavored water of the sorts because there's no tea aspect in it, right? It's just the flavor and sugar.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're trying to change over
Absolutely.
here.
I mean, that's the opportunity that, what the other brands were doing tasted like fake tea. And if you give real tea, then people will respond to it. And I think that, consumers are very smart at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's the key over here. That, the new age consumer is really smart. They're aware of what's happening on the labels. They're able to read. They're able to understand that, even if a brand is claiming zero sugar, they might be using artificial sugar or something.
Yeah.
I think that's the key, right? That customers have really developed when it comes to looking at the brand, looking at the product, looking at the packaging, and then figuring out things.
Sure. I mean, our product is very simple. I mean, we haven't put ingredients just to make it sound like a healthy product or 0 calorie or anything like that. It's just a simple, naturally brewed tea with less sugar and completely natural. And I think we've gotten the response to say that this has legs.
Right. Okay. So I want to focus on one very specific topic today, and that is you and your company's focus on offline distribution channels. Because while I was researching about BrewHouse, the one thing I came across a lot of times is that BrewHouse is almost available at every Kirana store and every major outlet in the company. And that is something that is usually not a step one for any new age FMCG startup, right? But it is a high priority for your organization. And I just want to pick your brain over here. Why?
Sure, that's a very good question. Actually, we launched with QSRs, and that was our initial strategy. And our first customer was Burger Singh, which is a burger joint.
Right.
They had about 20 outlets. I think when we started, there were 10 outlets. And that really worked for us because when you go to a QSR space, you get a lot of visibility. And also, in Burger Singh, we became the fastest selling or the largest selling beverage brand within the first couple of months. So that did two things for us. It basically told us that there is a market for iced teas in India, unlike what we heard or what I heard from industry veterans when I first came, that there is no market for iced tea in India. And secondly, it told us that people will respond to a high quality product. So then from Burger Singh, then we went to Khan Chacha and Pita Pit, and these are, Khan Chacha is a very old kebab chain in Delhi. Pita Pit is international from Canada. So that was our initial strategy, and we did that for about 9 months. We were only with QSRs. That was sort of our test phase.
But during these 9 months, I believe the focus would have primarily been on Delhi, right?
Yeah, this was only in Delhi.
Right. Because Khan Chacha is very, very prevalent in Delhi.
It's a very Delhi brand.
Right.
Yeah.
Same goes for Burger Singh.
Yeah. So that gave us the customer validation that consumers would accept, iced teas. And also it gave us and also sort of validated another hypothesis that the fact that a small brand could come in and get into sort of large chains. I mean, these were regional chains, but still large chains. That, also validated the hypothesis that there was a need for new beverages in the country. I mean, it would be very hard for something like this to happen in a more developed beverage market, for a new brand to come in without any retail presence to get into large chains. So it validated those two aspects, essentially validated the fact that this is a good business to be in. Then we got into retail. Now, when we got into retail, this was 2018. And online grocery retail was still very small. So the world has really changed in 2 years. And now online grocery retail is becoming a big factor. But for groceries, online was not such a big channel. And it was 95% of the market is offline.
Right.
So you had to go into offline. Now, within the offline space, the kiranas are 90% of the market. So you have to go into kirana as well. And you might feel like there are a lot of kiranas, but I think there are probably 20, 30 lakh kirana stores in Delhi, and we're only in about 500 of them.
Okay,
so our penetration
I think I've been quite lucky that whenever I visit a kirana store, I've been able to get one.
So you're possibly
possibly the
within
outlier.
the target
right.
market.
Yeah, I think I've been tracked efficiently by
right.
viewers.
So we've done a good job in tracking your consumer cohort with the kiranas, but obviously our penetration is very, very low, and our penetration is into the stores where we feel that audience is there.
Right. But I think I just like to cut you off over here. I think that more than low, I think it's been efficient.
Yeah,
because
so compared to a lot of startup brands, perhaps it's on the slightly it's on the good side. It's not on the high side, and a reason for that is also that we were able to get in very easily. It wasn't difficult for us, and I think that's also because retailers also realized that there is a demand for an iced tea, and the price point was not very high. At a 60 rupees, it was affordable. It was affordable premium, and that's been our pricing strategy with the glass bottles. And therefore, we were able to get in. And, we've kept the spaces where the response has been positive, and some spaces we've cut off where the movement has been very slow, but we haven't had to do a lot of that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of kirana stores, we're there about 2,500 kiranas across the country.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway from this entire answer is that because you were able to validate with the QSRs at the beginning that this is a model that is working, then you were able to tap onto that energy and then take it forward with the kiranas.
So yeah,
and
I mean, even today, a lot of people come out to us and they would say that we've seen it in Khan Chacha or we've seen it in some restaurant.
Right.
So that's where the discovery really happens.
Right.
And then the knock-on effect of that goes into retail.
Because I think the product also acts as is slightly complementary in nature. Like while it works in a standalone way, because you're eating food, you need a beverage alongside it. That's something that also is something you were able to tap onto, right?
Sure. Yeah. This is a category that works well with food.
Right.
So that helps.
Definitely. Right. So it's been 5 years since you've been running BrewHouse.
Yeah.
Right. What are the key learnings that you have learned from this entire experience that you could go back and teach 2015 Siddharth?
Well, I mean, I think if I were to do it again, I would probably do a lot of things differently.
Right.
But I think one of the key things that I would perhaps do differently is that I would set up my own manufacturing facility.
All right.
And I would never think that I would have never thought that I'd say this, but because as a brand, you don't really want to get into the hassles of manufacturing and setting up your own facility. And it's much more efficient to work with contract manufacturers.
Right.
But unfortunately, in India, so far, we don't have a very mature contract manufacturing setup for beverages, especially.
Right.
Because I think it goes back to the fact that there are not too many startup beverage brands or smaller beverage brands which are high quality. So for us, it was difficult to find a high quality manufacturing setup. So we have a small facility where we do the glass bottles. But last year, we decided that we wanted to make this more affordable and get it into more hands with PET bottles. And it's been a struggle to find a high quality bottler.
All right.
And I think that if we had our own facility and if we had set up a larger facility where we could have PET bottling as well, we could have possibly launched the PET bottles earlier. So that would have been a good distinction. So we've just launched the PET bottles now just before the pandemic.
Oh, okay. Yep. All right. We'll circle around to the pandemic, but this is great news, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Being able to open.
Yeah, so I mean that I think would be one learning, to set up a manufacturer or a larger manufacturing facility.
Right. But I think this is something that is also, this learning is also something that is transferable to other industries as well. That maybe not relying on too many stakeholders and then possibly setting up your own organization, like setting up your own processes, even if it's a slightly costlier alternative, but not relying too much on other stakeholders, right?
Sure. I mean, it does, fly in the face of some of the conventional wisdom that you want to be asset light.
Right.
And you want to be focused on what you do best.
Right.
But sometimes you have to sort of, it really depends on your environment and on the infrastructure around it.
Definitely. All right. So I want to focus on BrewHouse's branding and packaging. So you guys went through a major rebranding exercise in December 2019, right?
Yep.
What led to that decision, and how has this experience been so far in terms of the same?
Right. So it's been actually really interesting to do the rebranding. The couple of reasons that we did that was, one was our earlier bottles, though they were very nice looking, they were very elegant and simple looking.
I remember the ones with the big bold.
They had big bold letters,
right.
Colorful letters on a white background.
Right.
But the brand name was slightly, in a small font.
All right.
And the variant name was a much sort of
Alright.
more prominent.
It was, I think, something not clicking mentally with you the way you're talking about it, right? You're not 100% convinced of the bottling.
No, I was. We got the response that the bottle looks great, but people were not registering the brand name as much as they were registering the bottle.
All right.
So people say, "Oh, I like this. I like this product. I've seen this bottle. I've had it."
But I don't remember the name.
They wouldn't recall the brand name, and that was a problem, right? So we felt that we definitely need to bring the brand name forward.
Right.
So that was one. Second was that we actually did a PET bottle run initially as well in 2018, and we had, like I said, we had some problems with we were not very happy with the quality of the product that came out in the PET. But the second problem was also that our label was not translating well to PET. So it was a label that looked great on a glass bottle, but it wasn't looking so great on a PET bottle.
Right.
So we felt that for the PET bottle, we wanted something which was more colorful, was more bright.
Definitely. This looks quite exciting. The colors are really vibrant.
So I think those were the two reasons that we wanted to bring out the brand name, and we wanted something that translates better to PET. And it's actually very exciting to do this because you get a chance to sort of do everything again in a way that you make up for the past sort of whatever little faults were there in the earlier version, because you can never get to a perfect product in one go.
Right.
I think the response has been great. Interestingly, what happened was we were just signing up with Inox, which was a huge deal for us to sign up with Inox Cinemas, and we went and met a very senior lady, Daisy Shah, over there. And she said, I love the product. It's organic. It's lovely. I think this is what consumers want. And we love your packaging. And we had just sort of finalized a new look, and we had not launched it. And we said, we're changing the packaging. She said, no, don't change the packaging. I love the packaging. And she said, look, I don't want the new packaging. You send me the old packaging. And we were like, we were obviously very nervous about this because we can't sell old packaging to Inox and then new packaging in the market, right? So we were like just hoping that they would like this new look. So we said, the new look is great. We'll send you the new bottles and then you decide. So we sent them the new bottles. We were really sort of hoping that they'd like it. And then they called back. They said, we love the new look. So go ahead with this. So that was, for us, that was the validation that this has gone in the right direction.
I think one word which I would like to stick to is organic, right? Because in new packaging, it really shows the ingredients, right? Yeah. It's really showcasing the ingredients on the front as well, alongside the name BrewHouse.
Right.
Like the ingredients are also being showcased, which I'm not fully aware if this was something that was a big factor during the previous branding exercise.
That was also another factor that we wanted to bring out the ingredient,
right? Because the ingredients are really like visible and out there now, right? And that should help things out.
The word that organic makes it more exciting because you're able to see the peach or the lemon or the blueberries and that I think that attracts
definitely
and sort of attracts and it's good for the appetite.
Okay, so I want to focus on the worst thing that has happened in 2020, COVID-19. How has this pandemic personally affected you, and what has been the impact on BrewHouse, and how has BrewHouse adapted to the newer times?
So, the pandemic, of course, it's been devastating from an economic point of view and from a sales point of view. But I also feel that there will be good things that come out of it. Like any pandemic or any sort of world-changing event, this has forced the world to move in a new direction. And of course, we being, the species that we are, we will move into a better direction using all the latest technologies that we have at our disposal.
Right.
So this will accelerate movement towards trends that were already there. Right. So work from home was a trend that was already there before the pandemic, and that has got accelerated. I feel that 6 months back, if you ask somebody who's going to office and traveling maybe 1 hour, 1.5 hours one way to work, and then traveling back from work, if you gave that person the option to either work from home or have an active social life, most people will probably choose to have the work from home option.
Right, definitely.
Right. So that's not a bad thing. Right. And of course, I think companies are realizing that they can be very productive working from home as well. And the other thing that's happened is that the movement to online has accelerated. Grocery sales online have really sort of become a big thing. And distribution, which is the bane of FMCG industry in India and FMCG startups in India, because it's very hard to set up the distribution channel. Like you talked about, going into the kirana stores, we're only there in about 2,500. and we could go into 20,000 if distribution was organized in India. So I think that was the biggest challenge for brands like us, and that is changing now because a lot of the distribution is moving towards online and digital formats. So there is good and bad. It's a short-term pain, but I think some of the benefits of that is that the distribution that I talked about, and also consumers are now more aware of having healthier products. So I think things like organic and healthier food and beverage products, lower sugar, all of that is coming more into consumer focus, and that should benefit in the longer run. So we're hopeful that things will settle down soon, and people will get out of this pandemic in a relatively safe and healthy position, and then we can resume and build it in a better way.
Definitely. I for one, I think I remember before the pandemic, I remember how much I used to love working from home.
Yeah.
And like I think I'd take a once a week or twice a week a work from home and everything, and just work, and then be able to actively take part in my social life as well. But now that I've been working from home for I think something close to 3-4 months now, I think I definitely miss office.
Yeah.
I think I'd jump at the opportunity to go back to office
Sure.
and just work from there.
Absolutely.
I think
you
definitely
need a bit of both, and we've started going to office now.
All right.
Little bit, and now, of course, with Delhi cases rising, you want to restrict that as much as possible.
Definitely.
But you want to meet your team members once in a
Definitely.
while and have some meetings.
I mean, while work from home is great, while Zoom calls are great, online meetings are great, I think that personal touch sometimes does matter of the sorts, like for certain decisions, whether it's a new product tasting, something you want to do, or whether it's you want to have a look at the new packaging or something. These are things you can't really do offline, right? These
Yeah.
things you really have to do
Yeah.
offline of the sorts.
Yeah. So, and we were one of the first brands to sell on Zomato and Swiggy sort of spaces. That has worked out really well for us.
Right.
So this has really sort of accelerated our movement from offline retail to online retail.
I believe BrewHouse was one of the first brands to actually have their store listing on Zomato and Swiggy, right? Because while local kirana stores or retail stores, like major retail outlets had their positioning, BrewHouse was also coming up as a single store of the sorts.
Sure.
So I think your existing distribution channels really help you transition towards that, right?
Yeah. So some of our retail partners have become pickup points for us.
All right. Okay. So I want to focus on the macro aspects of India now, and I want to focus specifically on the beverage market of India. What opportunities and challenges do you see in the same? I know you've spoken of some things earlier, but from a macro aspect, what opportunities and challenges do you see in this space?
So I think there's massive opportunity. First of all, the beverage space itself is very underpenetrated in India. We have one of the lowest per capita consumption of beverages in the world, and it's lower than Pakistan and Bangladesh as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I think we're there at about 9 bottles per person per annum, and I think countries which are similar in purchasing power are at somewhere around 30 to 35 bottles per person per annum.
Oh, okay.
So there's a massive sort of potential to increase that. And the way to increase that would be with healthier products, because the world is not going to consume more carbonated drinks and more heavy sugared beverages, or at least I shouldn't say carbonated, but essentially the world is definitely moving towards healthier products. So I think there's a lot of potential.
Definitely iced tea is something that can act as a potential alternative to carbonated beverages as well, right?
That's right.
Definitely it's something being looked at.
So that's what's happened in most markets in the world, that over the last 20 years, as carbonated sales have fallen down, this is one category that has benefited the most from that. And this has happened in practically every territory in the world, every sort of region, whether it's North America or Europe and Asia, Southeast Asia, and Australia. So that's going to happen. Also, I think in India, it's quite under-penetrated and under-branded. There are very few younger brands in the beverage space specifically. So I think, there is opportunity both from the industry perspective as well as from the perspective of new brands coming in and taking some share from the larger brands.
I think one more trend that might exist in the beverage market is that India is coherently a tea lovers nation, right?
Yeah.
We love tea.
Yeah.
I think, and we're also major producers of tea, right?
Yeah.
From the northeastern states and whatnot.
Absolutely.
So I think that is also one trend that translates into the beverage market.
So yeah, from our perspective, it's just something that has to be done. I mean, we are a tea producing and tea drinking country, and we need to have a thriving iced tea space and iced tea category. I mean, this is a great way to enjoy tea. I mean, and for me, tea is a great beverage. It has it not only sort of energizes you, which is seen as a traditional sort of reason to have tea, which is to awaken your senses and gives you that sort of natural boost of energy, but it also calms your mind and also focuses your attention because it's got those properties as well. So it's really it's call it the gentlest drug in the world, or call it a magical elixir, but it's India's beverage, and there is an opportunity to have this in the cold form, and in the cold form without milk you can practically have it throughout the day, whether you add sugar to it or whether you don't add sugar to it. But that allows you to enjoy it in a different way and throughout the day, which you can't do with hot teas, especially in a hot country. Right. So this is a space that needs to be developed. I mean, it is also the second largest employer in the country, the tea industry.
Okay.
And it's a very, very tough industry. Tea plantation is a very tough business to make money in.
All right.
So this is an industry that would definitely help to sort of bring this new dynamism to this industry with the iced tea space, and for consumers as well. We're looking for healthier products. We're looking for organic products, and this is a space where you can do organic. Doing organic helps the farmers. We buy tea from small organic farmers. These guys are doing organic because that helps them to have a profitable tea plantation, which is small and which can maintain quality and can support the community. So it helps in various ways. It helps the consumers, it helps the industry, and it's just a great product. So it has to be done.
That's great. That's amazing. And what are the expansion plans and growth plans for BrewHouse for 2020, 2021, and 2022?
So, I mean, we have a lot of plans.
Right.
We are creating essentially, once we started doing iced teas, we realized that just brewing beverages is a great way to create beverages, because when you brew something, it gets, you're making something in a hot temperature, and therefore because anything that you bottle, it has to go through a heating process. And that heating process typically would either enhance the product or it would deteriorate the product. Now, most things get deteriorated when you heat them, right?
Right.
Whether it's a fruit or a vegetable or a dairy product. But if you're making tea, it sort of,
It's
or if you're
enhancing.
brewing something, heating does not destroy it, because it comes out of brewing, and it enhances the product. It doesn't enhance its health benefits or its taste. So it's a great way to make beverages. It doesn't add any calories. It has functional benefits. It has health benefits. So we've decided to sort of create a lot of beverages which have a base in natural brewing process. Right. And we're creating some lemonades. We're creating some carbonated drinks which are which have a base in brewing.
All right.
So we're doing that, and of course we want to do now. We've just launched the PET bottles, which are more affordable. So we're very excited about that. We want to now push it in online, because that's where consumers are, and that's great because it's a lot more capital efficient way to grow. We want to do larger sizes, which are for at-home consumption, because today it's all about at-home consumption. So that's what we're looking to do, and we want to really sort of develop this category and put iced teas in every home.
That's amazing. That's honestly amazing. I think what we have to look forward to now is the new exciting flavors and new exciting ranges besides iced tea is what BrewHouse is looking towards, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I have one more question from you. This is from a personal aspect. Because you're a successful Indianaut, we've dubbed you an Indianaut, by the way.
Okay.
Right? What advice do you have for other aspiring entrepreneurs or Indianauts, like you call them?
So I don't think I'm qualified to give advice just
I think
yet.
you're definitely very humble.
But I just say that it's a great journey to have, to take. I've learned a lot, and I was working in mergers and acquisitions, which is a fairly intensive role, and you work with top managements and CEOs and CFOs. But this is a different league of experience, right? You learn so much, and I think everyone should go through this journey. It's an exciting journey. It's a very, very tough journey. But when you go through something tough, you really learn a lot. And when you come out of it, it's the best experience. I mean, all of us are going through this pandemic, and we can see that once we come out of this, we're going to look back at having gone through this pandemic as an experience of a lifetime, and we will learn from it. The world will learn from it, and we'll become a better world, hopefully. But that's what entrepreneurship is at a personal level. You sort of go through a really, really hard journey, but you come out stronger. You learn a lot, and it's an exciting journey. I think everyone should do it. And this is a great time to be an entrepreneur, because the world is changing right in front of our eyes. It's a lot more flexible, and a lot many more problems to solve. So yeah, this is the best time to be an entrepreneur.
That sounds amazing, Siddharth. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Great. Thank you so much.
We congratulate you on BrewHouse's recent success and announcements, and wish you the very best for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for this episode. The Indianaut Podcast is available on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook to receive all updates on the upcoming episodes. We'll see you in the next one.